Is Darius Robinson the safe pick at 29?
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what's happening, everybody? Matt Derry with you on a Friday edition of Locked On Lions. Welcome in on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's Friday, April 12th, and the Saturday, April 13th. Hope everybody's had a great week, staying dry. It's just not stopped raining here for the last 2 days, but here we are on a Friday edition of Locked On Lions. Thanks for making us your first listen and checking us out, of course, wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's on YouTube, Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast on the audio side or the video side. We thank you for checking us out right here on Locked On Lions. Shout out to our everydayers, folks that check us out each and every day right here on Locked On Lions. And that includes my new buddy, Bill Green, who I met today down at the DAC. He said, "Oh my gosh, my son and I watch your show each and every day. This is unbelievable." Griffin Green, number 20 at Denison. Shout out to Griffin Green family. They're awesome. And it was great to meet Bill today down at the DAC. Locked On Lions today brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. We got to talk about Darius Robinson today. Is he the safe bet for the Lions at 29? We'll get into that. Equanimeous St. Brown. Could he be coming to the Lions to team up with his brother? We will answer that momentarily here on Locked On Lions. Also, Cranes put out an article this week about the Lions' new practice facility where apparently they're going to be moving, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. And if you're in Detroit, don't hold your breath. I'll tell you what Cranes had to say momentarily. And also, a lot of buzz about JJ McCarthy going number 2. I'll tell you why I think that's a major mistake. All of that today right here on Locked On Lions. Follow us on Twitter at Derry Speaks, at Locked On Lions on Twitter, Matt Derry Facebook fan page. And again, thank you for those of you that subscribe and watch us each and every day right here on our Locked On Lions YouTube channel. Had a great week. Adam Schefter, of course, was with us. If you missed Dan Horde yesterday, the play-by-play voice of the Cincinnati Bengals, talking up DJ Reader, go back and watch that from yesterday. Dan was awesome. When I was at Syracuse, and I was a student there from 1991 to 1995, Dan Horde was also an SU student. It was also a part of our great college radio station, WAER. But at that time, Dan was a TV anchor at, I believe it was the ABC affiliate. Might have been Channel 7, just like it is here. And Dan used to do this bit called Dare Dan. And if he would someone would dare him in a free throw shooting contest or something. And it was great TV, and it was like way ahead of its time. So Dan's the man. We loved having him on yesterday. All right. ESPN put out a team needs article, an ESPN Insider article today about team needs and what they're likely going to do in the draft. It's kind of an ESPN draft staff and beat writers, kind of an amalgamation, as Jeff Risdon pointed out on the Lions Wire today. And it's talking about fits and who could go where and what these teams are looking for. And Darius Robinson's name has come up a lot with the Lions. And in this article, written by the draft staff at ESPN and also Eric Woodyard, who's the beat writer for ESPN.com for the Lions, they came up with one specific player for Detroit at 29, and that is Darius Robinson. As I mentioned before, the edge rusher and also can play some interior. So let's just say the do-everything defensive lineman from Missouri. ESPN writes today about Darius Robinson going to Detroit. Quote, "Here's your landing spot for Darius Robinson," said an area scout who crossed paths with the Lions decision makers multiple times this year and has shared conversations with them about team needs. End quote. Now look, there's one thing about Brad Holmes and the Lions staff. They're pretty tight-lipped. I don't think that they're going to show their cards here if we're talking poker. Last year, nobody Nobody. Nobody thought Brad Holmes was going to take, excuse me, a running back in Jahmyr Gibbs at number 12. Nobody had that. All right. Yeah, you kind of sensed that Penei Sewell was going to be a fit. Yeah, you kind of sensed Aiden Hutchinson was going to be a fit. But it just seems like if you go through all the mocks and you listen to the experts, and again, there's no guarantee that Darius Robinson is going to be there at number 29. But many have felt like if we're talking about the safe pick, if we're looking at 29, then looking at the Lions draft board, then looking at the players available, if you had to wager money, if you had to bet on it, if you had to think about it and go, I need to make a prediction, Darius Robinson seems to be the fit for Detroit. And this article also brings that up. Robinson was recently in Allen Park this week. The Lions hosted him for the local pro day. He was in town along with, Blake Corum and guys. We mentioned this before, guys from MSU, Michigan, and others. Darius is a local product, yet he played at Missouri, but he's from Canton. And look, he can play every position on the defensive line. We know this right now. If the games were being played today, you'd have Aiden Hutchinson, DJ Reader, Aleem McNeil, and Marcus Davenport. All right, you got Kaminsky in there, you got Pascal in there, you got James Houston in there. So you've got some depth. All right, but a guy that is dying to be here, a guy that would be a great culture fit, a guy that weighs 290 pounds but could play tackle, could play end, could be an edge. The Lions, we know, have talked to him. Darius Robinson just seems to fit the bill for what Detroit is looking for. Now, again, if we're just talking need for a second, what do the Lions need the most? Well, if you look at starters, I mean, I guess Davenport would be considered the starter at the opposite edge. All right, Kaminsky could start. Pascal's more of an interior guy. Onwuzurike, interior guy. James Houston is more of a third down rusher. The Lions do need to protect themselves at edge because Marcus Davenport, who they gave $6.5 million to, is always injured. Darius Robinson could do it all. And I think he'll be there at 29. There's a chance he could go a little bit earlier. I think there's a good chance he'll be there. And he just sort of fits the bill as somebody that, Josh Pascal's played edge and inside. Kaminsky's gone inside. Hutch has played inside and lined up on the inside on third downs. The Lions love versatility along the defensive line. And Brad Holmes knows that the game is won in the trenches. He's valued offensive line play. He's valued the defensive line. He's brought back Romeo Okwara. He's brought back Charles Harris. He's added multiple guys in those spots. So I see this definitely as a fit, for sure, for Detroit. So I wouldn't balk at that. Now, again, as far as needs from a depth perspective, this team needs to add another safety. This team needs to add another wide receiver. This team needs to add a corner again. They need to add depth along the offensive line. But the biggest impact and how you win is harassing the other team's quarterback. That's what's going to get this defense over the hump and into the Super Bowl this year. Doing a better job of harassing quarterbacks. The Lions had to go on the road to play in the NFC Championship game last year. They just did. They had to play in San Francisco. Maybe they would have had the best record in the NFC and the number one seed if they were able to get to the quarterback better. All right, Dak Prescott, and yes, I know the refs screwed the Lions in Dallas and all that, but remember, Dak Prescott had a lot of time to throw in that game, including the Derek Barnes whiff. You add some pressure up front and put pressure on the quarterback and get a guy like Darius Robinson. I can see why that would be a fit for this football team. What about adding another wide receiver? What about Amon-Ra St. Brown's brother? He's not coming to Detroit. We'll explain coming up next right here on Locked On Lions. And our program today is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. All right, we got a Friday edition of Locked On Lions, everybody, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making us your first listen and checking us out wherever you get your podcasts, which we always appreciate everybody checking out this show daily. Again, we're getting closer to the draft, folks. We are less than 2 weeks away for the April 25th through the 27th extravaganza down in Detroit. I say down in Detroit. I guess if we were downriver, we would say up in Detroit. Regardless, I'm in Macomb County. I got to take 94 and go down to the city if we're looking on a map. Anyway, there was some talk, and I know Amon-Ra St. Brown and even his brother, Equanimeous St. Brown, ex of the Chicago Bears, had talked a lot about, hey, maybe we team up. They do a podcast together, the St. Brown's Brothers podcast and all of that. Well, today, NFL Network was the first to report that Equanimeous is signing a contract with the New Orleans Saints. So EQ, as he's known, who's been in the league since 2018, was with the Packers for a long time. The Bears the last 2 years. Last year was injured, only played in 7 games, caught 5 passes for 62 yards. He's heading to the New Orleans Saints. Now, the Lions right now, if you look at their depth chart at receiver, they got Amon-Ra. They got J-Mo, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Khalif Raymond. They need somebody to replace Josh Reynolds. Antoine Green, Tom Kennedy. You got to figure that the Lions are going to look at another veteran to bring in here or draft somebody possibly at 29. This is a chock full of wide receivers draft. But I looked it up today. There are a ton of free agent wide receivers still available. Michael Gallup has not been signed yet. Only 28 years old. Okay, the Lions aren't signing Odell Beckham Jr. Okay, that's not happening. Allen Robinson, the pride of Detroit, Orchard Lake St. Mary's. Played last year with the Steelers. I had no idea he was with the Steelers. Talk about persona non grata. Hunter Renfrow, available. Gosh, that's crazy to me. He's still available. Ex of the Raiders. Tyler Boyd is still out there. Remember, there were reports a couple weeks ago from The Athletic that the Lions were showing interest in Tyler Boyd. One report said the Steelers offered him $5 million a year for 2 years. 2 years, $10 million. And he turned it down. If he's not taking $5 million a year, the Lions aren't offering him more than that. Not a chance. Michael Thomas, MVS, Russell Gage, the former Lion DJ Chark, only 27, played last year for Carolina, is available. The guy that I wanted the Lions to sign, and I would still endorse it, is Jamal Agnew, because we know now that the kickoff situation is different, and you're going to need a good kick returner because there's going to be more returns this year than there have been the last couple of years. Jamal Agnew could do that. Plus, he's got some speed. McCole Hardman's still out there. Jakeem Grant, played with the Browns last year. Randall Cobb, no. Marquise Goodwin, also no. Chase Claypool, not a chance. Sterling Shepard. Anybody want him? What about Scotty Miller, ex of the Bucks and Falcons? Anybody want Byron Pringle? Had no idea he was with Washington last year. Laquan Treadwell, he's still a thing. Oh my gosh. Richie James. These are your choices, ladies and gentlemen. I would take Jamal Agnew. I just would. I don't know if the Lions are going to do this. Maybe they wait until after the draft and the price comes down for some of these guys. But those are the available wide receivers. But EQ, Equinemius St. Brown, is not going to be coming to Detroit. So, but that list of guys, again, I know Odell probably still has a little bit of gas in the tank, but too big of a distraction, too big of a diva to be bringing here. Jamal Agnew wouldn't be terrible. MVS actually wouldn't be horrible, but I don't know. I just remember Joe Tessitore every time the Lions played the Packers on that Monday night. MVS. It'd almost be like a nightmare in my head for something like that. All right, Crane's Detroit Business put out a piece. Was it today or yesterday? Let me look. This was yesterday. I want to give you a little update on this. Contenders emerge for new Detroit Lions practice facility. The article is written by Kirk Pinho and Jay Davis, the great Jay Davis. Let the Detroit Lions practice facility sweepstakes begin. I'm not going to read you the entire thing, but let me just tell you something. This, my guess, was leaked by the Lions because you read this and go, oh man, give me 4 or 5 sites. All right, where are the Lions going? They going to Plymouth? Are they going to Detroit? Are they going to Shelby Township? Are they going to Ann Arbor? Where are they going? Birmingham? You read this, Walled Lake. You read this article and you get done and you go, what sweepstakes? And I don't see any contenders. The 2 that are mentioned in this piece, one is in Detroit on the old Herman Kiefer Hospital site on the Lodge Freeway in Claremont. It's about 40 acres. The other one is in Canton Township. I never even knew there was a Canton Township. I just thought it was Canton. Is that what it is? On a hodgepodge of privately owned parcels with multiple owners at 275 and Ford Road. First of all, why would the Lions move there? That's like way too trafficy and way too loud. The Lions are working out outside. That's like a loud area, 275 and Ford Road in Canton. The article goes on to say that this Detroit architect, Jerry Attia, is putting together this extravagant plan for this Herman Kiefer site. Canton Township also wants the Lions. But then, the article goes on to say that a spokesperson for Mayor Mike Duggan of Detroit says there are no conversations going on at all between the Lions and the city on any potential practice site in Detroit. John Roach, Duggan's director of media relations, says at no point have the Lions expressed any interest in the city or the Herman Kiefer site. So credit to the Lions and Rod Wood. That's my guess is that 222 and company kind of dropped this in the lap of the Cranes and said, we need more bidders. Now, again, the Lions have their facility now in Park. It's a little bit outdated. I think they want more space because if they want fans to come out for training camp, which they've done, it's really small. They want to build something that's bigger. All right. The facility in Allen Park has been fantastic for the team, but it probably is time to get more land, get more acreage, all that stuff. But reading this article, contenders, the Detroit one, the Lions, I don't think want to be in Detroit, at least for their facility. And number 2, this Canton site, to me, that's too busy of an area. Now, again, maybe many of the players live in Plymouth. That would be great to be right there at 275 and Ford Road. I don't see it. I think the Lions put this out there to kind of say, we need more bidders. But real estate's a tough game right now, and it's a lot of money, so we'll have to wait and see. But that's an update that I wanted to give you from Cranes in regards to the Lions practice facility. For the fans, they want to go somewhere where that's easy and accessible, especially for training camp. Going to the current facility isn't bad, in my opinion, off of the Southfield Freeway. But again, there's only so many fans you can squeeze into that very small area there. So we'll have to wait and see. All right. There was a report out today that JJ McCarthy could be going number 2 in the draft in a couple of weeks. I'm going to tell you why I don't like the fit there. Not necessarily the player, but the fit there. We'll do that coming up next right here on the Locked On Lions. Locked On Lions is sponsored by BetterHelp. Are you thinking about talking to somebody, maybe seeing a therapist, having some conversations? A lot of us spend our lives wishing we had more time, right? Question is, what do you have time for? If time was unlimited, how would you use it? Best way to squeeze that special thing into your schedule is to know what's important to you and make it a priority. That is why therapy can help you find what matters to you so you can do more of it. All right. I talk to a therapist every other week, helps me, kind of gets me grounded, gets me centered. It's somebody neutral in my life that I can bounce ideas off of and feel good that I did that. Well, if you're thinking about starting up therapy, how about giving BetterHelp a try? It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Learn to make time for what makes you happy with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Thanks for checking us out wherever you get your podcasts, everybody. It is a Friday edition of Locked On Lions. If you missed Adam Schefter on Monday, go back and check that out. Also, yesterday, Dan Horde joined us, the voice of the Cincinnati Bengals, to talk about DJ Reader. And he loves DJ. He said that it's just going to be such a great signing for the Lions. Leader, really good football player. And if he can stay healthy, will be an immense addition, certainly for this Leo's team. All right, so reports coming out today that the Washington Commanders, who sit at number 2 in the draft and need a quarterback, are very interested in JJ McCarthy. Now, we've heard this song and dance before. Minnesota's interested. Denver's interested. Washington now is interested. Jim Harbaugh said, I think he's the best quarterback in this draft. Now, again, JJ McCarthy brought Jim Harbaugh and Michigan a national championship. What is he going to say? Right? So I was thinking about this today when I saw this, and it's not me saying that I think JJ is going to go in the top 5. I think teams know if you don't get the quarterback position right, you're never going to win. Look at the Lions right now and what's happened the last 2 years. Jared Goff has played at a high level. And the Lions are winning games. And when Jared Goff doesn't play at a high level and turns the ball over, the Lions lose. He's been really good. And yes, he's well protected. You got all pros around him, like Laporta, St. Brown. And these teams need quarterbacks. Washington needs a quarterback. Like I mentioned before, Minnesota, Denver, the Las Vegas, the Giants, all these teams at the top of the draft, a lot of them need help. New England, they need a quarterback in the worst way. JJ McCarthy, to me, to Washington, is a disaster waiting to happen. Number one, the Commanders' offensive line, if you go to PFF, was ranked dead last year in the NFL. Number 32. What made JJ so good at Michigan? Was it this exotic passing attack where he was spreading the ball around and threw 50 touchdowns? No. He only threw 25. JJ McCarthy was behind an offensive line that was the best in college football for 2 years. He had a great running game with, Blake the Great and the Don. All right. He had great backs. He had a really good offensive coordinator. He had a really good head coach who, is quarterback whisperer, Jim Harbaugh. I think JJ McCarthy is going to be a solid pro. I'm not making any predictions that he's going to suck or anything, but going from a team that had everything built in for him and around him, that ran the football the entire half of a game and didn't even let him throw once. And then you're going to stick him in Washington with the Commanders. I just hate that fit. I get why Minnesota wants to move up, or maybe Denver. It's interesting. Tiki Barber, who's on WFAN, and of course is the former New York Giant, he thinks McCarthy's not even good and doesn't even want the Giants to take him at 6 if he's there, that there are other quarterbacks that he thinks are better. I just think JJ behind a bad offensive line in a bad stadium with a bad organization in the Commanders, and I know they've got new ownership now and they're going to try to turn this around, and Dan Snyder is gone, but I do not see that as being a good fit for him at all. But I do understand why people are saying Maybe take him ahead of Jaden Daniels. Maybe take him ahead of Drake May. Was it Merrill Hodge the other day, who's no longer at ESPN, but he said, if you take Drake May, you're going to get fired. He hates Drake May's tape. We know Caleb Williams is going number one, despite what Jim Harbaugh says. But I just don't love the fit of JJ behind a bad O-line. And yeah, Terry McLaurin's there. He's good. But that's not a good offense. Not a good offense. And I know they've made some additions and everything else, but that to me would be danger. And so many of my Locked On Lions viewers and listeners, you guys love JJ. What was not to love about what he did for 2 years at Michigan? Brought a national championship, and he played at a very high level in that Alabama game. Very high level. At least late in the game. All right, that'll do it for this week of Locked On Lions. Thanks for checking us out, everybody, and spreading the word about this very podcast. We appreciate all of you. We are back again next week right here on Locked On Lions. Have a great weekend.